Let's go, folks. Time for the Gibby Show.
How you doing, baseball fans, and welcome to another edition of the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite, the official beer of Major League Baseball and the Gibby Show. I'm John Arezzi, and joining me direct from San Antonio, Texas, the former member of the '86 World Champion New York Mets, the two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, and now I could say best-selling author, and the man who always tells it like it is, the baseball lifer himself, Mr. John Gibbons. John, how you doing this week?
Johnny, I'm doing good, man. I was a little under the weather. I'm starting to feel pretty good.
You're looking good. Your face is a little, got a lot of color.
Makeup, dude, makeup. Even on these podcasts, makeup.
Yeah, exactly. You are doing a lot of video work now. So do you have a makeup artist yet?
Does this look like Botox or any of that? No. This is just called bad Irish skin, man. That's all.
Bad Irish skin. Well, I tell you what. I mean, big week for you. You are now officially a bestseller, and many of the lists that are up there, nonfiction books up in Canada, and pretty cool stuff, John.
Yeah, the people have been good. There's been some good responses and people going out there and buying it, and they seem to enjoy it. So, I thank Canada for that. It's been pretty cool.
And you're outselling Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, figure that. You talk about maybe it is Botox. Who knows, man? Maybe that's why.
And other stuff. I mean, there's you're going to be recording your audiobook coming up, and that has been announced as officially coming out on June the 20th. And there are also some people saying that maybe there could be not just, not you reading it, but somebody that a lot of fans of the Blue Jays are familiar with, Minoru Kawasaki.
Oh, Mooney, wouldn't that be beautiful, man? Oh, gosh. I mean, that sucker would sell like wildfire over there in Japan. We may have to do that,
I was watching some of his interviews, and hilarious. Just hilarious. What a character.
He's one of the best human beings you'll ever meet. And he talk about social media guru. He's everywhere, He's But he's got such a different personality. I told you his parents used to get all over him when he would act up over here when we were in Canada and States. Don't embarrass your family, and Mooney he's still at it.
He's definitely hilarious. I mean, we got a big show today, John. Really big show. We'll talk about what's going on with the Jays, of course. Starting pitching really came together over the last week or so we'll discuss that. We have other topics about the Blue Jays and of baseball in general. But today also on the Gabbin with Gibby segment, of course, brought to you by Tim Hortons, we have two for the price of one. I mean, what you've done, always outdoing yourself each and every week. Our guest on Gabbin with Gibby on this episode will be the Jays closer, Jordan Romano, and another key member of the Jays bullpen, Tim Mayza. So you got two today.
Oh, this is like Mutt and Jeff, man. Batman and Robin. These two are like this, right? They're best buddies. And obviously Jordan's, one of the best closers in baseball. Timmy's one of the best go-to guys. He can set up, he can pitch multiple innings. And, he was there when in 2018, my last year, great arm. You could just see him getting better and better. And not only two of my favorites, most people's favorites, these guys.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a good one today for sure. I want to take you back over the last week. The starting pitchers for the Jays, the last 5 starts on this road trip that just finished, incredible. I mean, everyone seems to be firing on all cylinders. The entire starting team, even the 4 and 5s, which people were a little worried about. Kikuchi, he just seems to have found himself, and also Barrios as well. But Kevin Gausman looks like the ace that he is. I'd like to ask you about this starting rotation now. As a manager, the first 3 guys are always the ones that are looked upon as those are the go-tos, and then the 4 and 5s. If you have the 4 and 5s working for you, things really start to go right.
Yeah, Johnny, I think things have definitely ironed themselves out. And to be fair, you figured that was going to happen. Manoah got off to a little bit slow start, obviously, and then his start the other day in Yankee Stadium. You know what? he shut him down. Which
Yeah.
he faced Cole. There was a little bit. Well, what's this going to be like? Because they had their issues last year. And what did he do? He stepped up.
Big time.
That's what he's all about. Gosman's had one tough outing, but other than that, he's been rock solid.
There was a story about Gosman. I mean, he struck out 11 in his start, and only one other time in Blue Jays history did a starting pitcher strike out 11 or more, and that was Clemens back in the mid-'90s. So in the history of the Blue Jays playing at Yankee Stadium, only two guys have done that, and that's Clemens and the other day Gosman. So what a great the way the team looks is great. But you as a manager, when you had to deal with those 4 and 5s, and especially when you're with the GM, and I know your history with JP. Give us a little bit of a backstory on when you have your charts up. Tell us more about looking at that depth on the rotation and how you guys used to deal with it years ago.
Well, obviously, when JP was there, JP had limited resources, and the team wasn't like a rebuild, but there was just certain things he could do, and that's back when the Yankees and the Red Sox. I mean,
We're
they
spending millions and millions,
and they were kind of at their peak, right, with Ortiz and Manny Ramirez and the Jeters and all that, right.
So you're saying no competitive balance.
No, what happened is they'd run away from the division by the beginning, 1st of June, So anyway, but there was limited money JP could spend to bring in top-notch starters, So we go through different guys, and some guys did a very good job. But Halladay was on that team. It was the funniest thing though, because in the manager's office, at least back then, we had this big poster board that was the schedule,
like a whiteboard.
No, it was just something they put out the 6-month schedule of all the teams you're facing.
Okay.
And then what to do? The pitching coach would come in and he'd mark for at least for 2 weeks each month. The rotation as it is in case barring any setbacks or anything like that. So JP would come in there. We'd be talking about the rotation for the next couple of weeks, and he'd get a marker up on the board, and when Halladay pitched, he'd put win, and he'd go loss, maybe a win. Come back to Halladay, win, loss. It was like. But we ended up finishing 500, so we snuck in some more wins out of some other guys. But the bottom line is these guys, you're gonna win and lose on your starting rotation. And there was some bumps early on, but you knew these guys were too good. I think what really made people nervous a little bit was at the end of last year, Barrios and Kikuchi were struggling, right?
Yeah.
So they come into this year and they got off to a similar struggle. Even after a good spring training, so everybody's wondering, okay. But all of a sudden, now that they just righted the ship and they look really good, and they've it's not even a question mark right now. But people need to keep in mind that they're going to have some stinkers. They're going to go out there and get hit sometimes, so they're not. That's just part of it. But I think they ought to be feeling really good because I think the objective here is they built the offense so strong. All they want is some good solid outings from these pitchers. Keep us in the game, let our offense take over. That's all you need to do. We don't have to have a shutdown staff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they certainly came together over the last week. We'll see what happens over the next week or so, but I mean, it's looking good, John. There's also been some discussion about Brandon Belt. I mean, hit a big home run. He got off to, a little bit of a slow start. Let me get your take on Brandon as far as what's going on with him. How often he should play. Should there be any other moves? Maybe a little bit more balance back and forth. So, give me your take on Brandon, please.
Well, it's hard to say exactly, but here's this guy's a seasoned veteran. He's been through the wars on some championship teams, right? He knows what he's doing, and they brought him in to provide a little bit of balance to their lineup on the left side, and he could also spell Vladdy Jr. over at first base because he's a heck of a first baseman as well. But he got off to a slow start. It's not unusual for a guy in a new spot. He's been with the Giants his whole career to get off a slow start. Plus, he wasn't getting steady at bats, and that's just the way it's set up. And it's hard. I don't care what kind of career you've had. Without some steady at bats, it's tough to get anything going. Now, saying that, and he goes into Yankee Stadium the other day. He's keep holding his head above water, but he really hadn't started. Really started clicking yet. But then he goes to the Yankee Stadium, hits a big home run, in a close ball game, right? And that's that's worth it right there.
Yeah,
And because that's one of their big rivals to win that division. So
it is.
he's a seasoned vet. He'll survive. He may not be uh, uh, what he used to be. Obviously, that's just, we had the same thing with Frank Thomas. Sometimes these guys get older, man. Frank was a Hall of Famer, right? But he'll give them enough, and he'll give them some quality bats, and he'll give them some leadership in the clubhouse that will pay dividends.
Yeah, and maybe that big home run is, sometimes it creates momentum too. So we'll see what happens.
Yes.
And
Yep.
obviously, very impressed with what's going on overall with the Jays. But the other question I have, and you being a catcher and you managing great catchers over the course of your career, I mean, looking at the Jays situation behind the plate with Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk and playing time, balance. What's your, as a manager and knowing these guys so well, what's your assessment on how the catchers are being used in the Blue Jays major league team right now?
Well, you know what they got? They're lucky. They got a couple of pretty good ones, and they traded off Moreno, another really good one out there in Arizona.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a huge Danny Jansen fan, and I say that because he's a top notch defender. You look at the team's record when he plays, and he's turned into a better hitter than I thought he was going to be. But I've always viewed catching as your number one responsibility is that pitching staff, right? You get the most out of them. We'll take what we can get behind the plate. Maybe that's because I was one of those kind of guys, right? But
yeah.
Danny's gotten better and better offensively, right? And he's clutch. He's even like I think he DH'd in a postseason game. Nobody ever thought that, right?
No.
So the more he's in there, I love it. I think he's that good. Obviously though, this isn't my team, and they got another guy that's an all-star, Kirk, who can really swing it, and he's Manoah's guy. And they're making it work. Eventually, who knows? They need to want to get Danny some more bats, and they keep Kirky's bat in the lineup. DH him more, things like that. They do have some options. A lot of that probably will revolve around like we just talked about how Belt's doing, and I know they like to DH Vladdy a little bit to get him off his feet, but if for crying out loud, he's 24 years old, man. Keep throwing him out there. You don't need a rest. So we'll see, but it's a good problem to have. But there's no doubt for guys to have big years, they got to be getting steady at bats. You can't always do it. You can't always give them to them, but that's the ideal world when you can, and that's what they want.
Hey, it's a tough gig, right? Making those decisions, and because you have two quality guys there behind the plate, and
yes, very good.
Very good. Well, I just want to let everybody know that you are listening to the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite. And John, over the past week, have you been enjoying a little Miller Lite as you're there back home in San Antonio and celebrating the status of your best-selling book over Pam Anderson? So what's going on? Did you celebrate with a Miller Lite?
Well, I told you I've been a little under the weather. I haven't been able to enjoy any. My dog stole a couple from me though.
I saw that on Twitter.
No, I had to get them from him before he started trying to drink those things. But no, I'm about healed, so I'm going to have me one today. You can bet on that because it tastes like Miller time, man. It always does. And,
always tastes like Miller time, my friend.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
I tell you what, it hasn't really been a Miller time as we get back to the leadoff for a guy named Max Scherzer, who was unceremoniously bounced from the game this past Wednesday last week because the umpires claimed that he had, one of them said it was the stickiest hands he ever felt. My question to you, Max, uses the rosin. Like, rosin is legal to use. But in this situation, he started off the first inning, gets his hands checked. Everything is cool. He had really no control in that first inning. Second inning, he comes in, starts firing away. Boom. In the zone. They check his hands after the second inning, and that's when the problems started. They were saying that there was too much stickiness. They wanted him to change his mitt. They wanted him to do something to go back. And the MLB officials there as well, they have to be. So he washes his hands, but he washes it with alcohol, which you later discover actually makes it even more sticky. So he has a great, not just second inning, but third inning. When he comes out for the fourth inning, here we go again. Now it's getting heated. Max is screaming, "It's rosin and sweat. It's rosin and sweat." Buck comes out, stoic. Max gets tossed. Comes out, swears on his kids. "It was nothing. I wasn't doing anything illegal." But Buck, kind of like, as a manager, all right, so you have the umps now interrogating your pitcher, rightfully or wrongfully. First, second inning, third inning, he gets tossed. And a lot of people are saying, well, Buck didn't have his back. What's your take on all of this? What's going on? Would you have handled it differently if you were like on that field watching your ace get heaved ho for some stickiness?
It's tough for me to answer that honestly, and be fair to all involved because I'm not there. All I know is this: in the sticky stuff's been around, baseball forever, right? And then you go back to the guys, the Gaylord Perrys, the guys that were loading it up, the spitters and things like that. It's kind of an accepted thing. They cracked down on it because I guess they came up with a new substance that
on the spider tack. I mean, I cracked down on that.
Yeah, it can really.
But rosin's still legal, but they don't tell you how much you could use or not use.
Right, but it really jacked up these pitchers. The spin rates and things like that. So they got to the point where we got to do something about it, right? And so he goes out there. It's kind of a like I said, it was accepted part of baseball. But now they're checking. It's funny, he didn't have any of that. They didn't find anything that first time. You said he had no control, and then he comes back out it
looked very different.
Yeah. So who knows? Well, for crying out loud, they got 4 innings out of him. What are they getting nowadays? Six, all they want out of starters anyway. So they were just a couple innings shy. But as far as Buck knows what's going on. But it used to be though that when managers used to sometimes they would have the umpires check an opposing pitcher's body or glove or whatever. For that reason, right? The hitters would all say, hey, he's loading it up, blah, 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 whatever. With the problem with that is you start checking other teams' pitchers, knowing that your own pitching staff guys are doing the same thing. So you're kind of opening up a can of worms there. It's a tough balance. Now the league's of course involved. I don't know. Buck's got his back. He's got to have his back. That's his.
He's a shrewd guy. He's got to have his back, but he didn't get tossed over it. I mean, that's everyone was kind of why he didn't get tossed, but it is what it is. Buck is very stoic all the time, and he's always calculated in his thinking. But you had mentioned something. You don't have to mention names, but you were at Yankee Stadium once, or there's a little sticky. There's a little sticky story involved with some.
I won't say any names, but when I came back to the Blue Jays in 2013, Jimmy Leland was managing the All-Star game, and he brought me as one of his coaches, right? And I can remember a great pitcher in the game comes out of the game and he's in the dugout and everybody's shaking his hand. He had a good one in. Everybody throws it in. So I shook his hand. For crying out loud, I couldn't get my hand away. It was like
crazy glued.
I think I still have some of his epidermis on my hands.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, it's not unheard of in baseball. It was kind of brought into focus because they came up with something that's really helped the spin rates. So they're trying to get that under control, but it's like what the old saying: "You ain't cheating, you ain't trying, man." And somebody's gonna try to cheat the system as long as the game's around.
That's very true. And finally, in the leadoff, I want to talk to you about the Arizona Diamondbacks DFAing somebody that did wonderful things in the course of his career, and that's Madison Bumgarner. And Diamondbacks DFA'd him, owing him $34 million still. So what's your take on something like this, John?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I kind of salute the Diamondbacks. They like their team. They're leading their division right now. It's early, but they kind of decided. It's more important that we were able to pitch somebody in that slot because as long as you can't put him in the bullpen. You just can't do that. So, it's a bold move, but they're willing to eat it. He'll resurface with somebody else. I would think he'd probably end up down there in Texas somehow with Bochy.
There's a few teams looking at him right now, and maybe Texas is one of them.
Yeah, so maybe he needs more. Maybe he needs some stickum, man. Maybe Scherzer.
Maybe we'll stick him, right? Get him back in the groove.
But he's one. What a career, man. And talking about a workhorse. He was like that postseason hero. With the Giants out there, he pitched, he start, and he'd come in the bullpen. That Kansas City, the year they beat Kansas City for the World Series title, man. He was. I mean, that's historic.
Now it's time for Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons Smile Cookie Week is back a little earlier this year from May 1st to the 7th. Pick up a smile cookie for yourself or a box to share from your local Tim's, and 100% of the proceeds go right back into the community. Every cookie makes a difference.
Yeah, a great cause. I hope people go out and support that because they do a lot of charity work and take care of a lot of less fortunate out there, and pretty good cookies too. So it's
and all the money goes back to the community. So that's kind of a very cool thing that Tim Hortons is doing, and it's a tradition now.
Yeah, I could use one of them cookies right about now if you want to know the truth.
There you go. Me too. All right, let's get to Gabbin with Gibby. On this week's Gabbing with Gibby, we have not one but two guests who are both players who play such a big part of the Blue Jays. We're happy to welcome, making his second appearance on the Gibby Show, closer Jordan Romano, and appearing for the first time, Jays reliever Tim Mayza. Gentlemen, welcome to Gabbing with Gibby.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
thanks for having me back.
That's right. Hey, Jordy, man, you were such a hit that first time. We're trying to bump ratings up, man. We said we better get Romano back on here. That we're struggling a little bit. No, and then we got to get your sidekick in here, man. He's connected. I heard you guys are connected at the hip, Timmy Mayza.
Yeah, you got to bring in the superstar Timmy. Drive up those ratings.
You're darn right. Hey, when my last year, 2018, Timmy was pitching, man. I tell you what. You know what? Hey, what kind of dog you got, by the way, Jordan?
Yeah, I got a Doberman.
Oh, that's right. Dude. Yeah. You're like a Mark Mann around here, but nowadays you got to have that protection.
Yeah, he's definitely a good guard dog, but
you couldn't let the dog outside for a little bit.
It's too cold for him.
Anyway, Timmy, at 18. You just got your opportunity at the end of 17 and then 18 in as the manager. I was on my way out. I knew it, but I'd watch it. I said, this guy's going to be good. Timmy, everybody's always looking for left-handed relievers, right? Pitchers, period. And now you come along, you got a power arm and you're just starting to put it together. And it was always a confidence thing, I think. And it's tough to be confident necessarily until you have some success. So you just kept going out there, and little by little, you got better and better. Now, and couldn't be more proud, man. See, now you got like 4 or 5 years under your belt in the big leagues, and one of the top left-handed relievers in the game. And hey, Jordan, the most important, he's got 2 kids now, for crying out loud. He must have, he must have really tricked somebody.
Yeah, no, I can't believe it, but I got to say this about Tim. Always puts his kids first. I know he's up early every morning, so it's nothing but respect for me there.
I kind of give it to Jordan a little bit. Jordan comes to the field. I'm like, Jordan, you just wake up? I said, I've been up since 7:30 changing diapers. And he's like, Tim, I want to hear about it.
Yeah, he likes to shame me for sleeping in.
Well, who do you think's taking the dog for a walk in the morning? Maybe his wife.
Yeah, I usually do the night shift.
Hey, Timmy, so you get up and change the diapers of that kid so your wife can sleep in?
She wakes up through the night. So, our 4-month-old, he's still waking up in the middle of the night. So she lets me sleep in until I say 7:30, but 8 o'clock usually the door opens and I'll hear the feet come in and it's dada. I'm like, all right, yeah, it's time. So 8 a.m. is the wake up call around here.
Dude, you're the best, man. That's a heck of a father right there. No, seriously. There's a lot of people out there. I might have been one of them that wouldn't do that. All right, let's talk a little baseball, man. See, you're coming off a nice series in New York. In the it's early in the season, but you guys have kind of developed a rivalry there. It goes back to the last couple of years in you're two of the better teams of baseball, and there's a little bit going on, with Vladdy Jr. not wanting to play there, and then with Manoah and Cole and all that. So things have kind of ratcheted up, and I think it's beautiful for baseball, And so you go in there, Yankee Stadium's a tough place to play. It always has been, right? I don't care how good the teams are. And you guys won two out of three, man. And it's early in the season, but you know what? There's certain series it's really important to play well, and that's what you guys did there. So how was it?
No, I think it was a pretty good series. Yeah, like you said, always going to Yankee Stadium. It's not easy to play there, and I think since we're playing the Yankees less, especially this year, we're playing everyone in the division less. Those games maybe mean a little bit more, for standings and stuff. So it's definitely nice coming out of there with a series win.
Hey, best thing they could have done, though, man, more balanced schedule. Are you kidding me? To run that gauntlet in the American League East, I keep hearing about, the other divisions. You can't even compare the other divisions, right? It's funny. I'm not knocking anybody, but I was watching one of MLB Network today, and they're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I'm thinking, well, for crying out loud, if the Blue Jays played in that National League Central, they might not have been beat yet. It's like, of course, I don't mean it's never that easy, but all right. So you're back home now, where you guys are comfortable where you want to be. You get you're in a good spot, but once again, it's the toughest division in baseball. You guys feeling good? You got to be feeling good now, don't you? I mean, I think that a lot of things are starting to iron themselves out. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the focus is always to win series. You get 3-game series. Hey, you got to at least take 2 out of 3, and that's. But in order to do that, you got to win the first one, kind of deal, or one of the first 2, and that's kind of been the focus. Is even though it's 162 games, like really breaking it down into these mini series, and okay, let's take 2 out of 3 from starting tonight the White Sox, and then not looking too far ahead. So it's been really nice to see that the focus has kind of been on winning the game for that day, and focusing on kind of that task at hand.
Yeah. Hey, Jordan. Hey, Timmy's got this figured out, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's. I think me and Timmy are exactly opposite. He's numbers guys, a lot of video. He'll know who we're playing like July 6th, and I barely know who we're playing today. I just kind of show up to the field and go. I don't really look over numbers, hitters, anything. But yeah, so me and Tim are complete opposites.
Give me the ball, man. Give me the ball. Timmy, you're an analytics guru, Timmy.
I like to. So I consider like each series like a little homework assignment. So I want to know who the lefties are. I want to know the pockets that I could potentially come in and see, and I want to be able to know as much about that hitter as possible. I wouldn't say I dive into like his numbers and analytics, but I want to know where his weaknesses are and how can I exploit them. I
just thought you just went in there and blew him away.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm 90% fastballs, and here I am talking about how I'm looking at swings and stuff like that. But no, I like to see what they look like in the box prior to having to go out there and face them.
Yeah, hey, good for you. It's important. You can gain a lot of information that way, and it makes some guys tick. And then there's a lot of guys that, like Jordan does it, right? That maybe it's because probably a lot of it because you're a closer too, Jordan. It's like. It doesn't matter who you're facing. The game's on the line. You know what? It's not quite it's not mapped out. Let's say like the guy, the setup guys and the guys lead to you. Here it is. Like it or not, I got to get these guys out, and you keep it simple, right? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like when I start diving like too deep into stuff, I start worrying about more of the hitter and less of like my game. I'm worried about their game, and it'll take me a little bit off mine. So. Yeah, I just kind of worry about my game, and if I get beat throwing my game, I'm totally okay with it.
Exactly. Hey, real quick, I want to tell you guys. You remember Mark Burley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Burley, incredible career. The Cy Young, not the Cy Young, but the no hitter, the perfect game, championship, all that. And he said he never shook off a catcher, right? So we asked him, I said, that's impossible, right? So I watched him when they traded for him. He never shook off the catcher. And his thinking was, I don't care what I throw, if I put it where I want to put it, he may get some hits off me, but you know what? He's not going to do any damage. And sometimes we can overdo it. We can overthink it. And like what you're talking about, if you put that sucker in a good spot, you're gonna have results, and that's what you're having.
It's just a cookie, you think. How much of a difference could it make? Well, 100% of proceeds go to a local charity or community group. If we all buy a Smile Cookie, that's helped for countless Canadians. Buy a Smile Cookie. Make a difference.
Let's talk about the bullpen, man. All right, let's get you guys home down there. Hey, Timmy, do you get down there right the first innings? Timmy down there in the first inning?
Oh, yeah. He's down there. Pitch one.
Hey, I'll tell you, Gibby, this guy's game plans might be simple, but that entrance that Romano has is anything but.
Oh, we're gonna get that. Yeah. Hey, the only thing could better if he had that nose ring in, for crying out loud.
Hey,
well, tell us about.
When I'm walking in and I feel I see the lights go off, I could see Timmy eyes roll just behind me. Like, oh, here we go again.
I think everybody in the stadium thinks that Rogers is just they're not paying their bills, man. So they got to turn out the lights on that thing, and then they jack up your phone bills. Anyway, hey, Jordan, that's pretty impressive, though, man. I mean, you know what? Not many guys have that. I mean, you deep down, do you enjoy that? I imagine.
Yeah, you know what? Like before, I wasn't sure what to think of it. So last year, they told me, they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do a little something for your entrance." I was like, "All right, cool." And then I didn't know it was gonna be that elaborate. And yeah, it was a cool experience at first, but I've actually really grown to like it. The crowd kind of gets loud, and I really like that. It amps me up a little bit. So yeah, I really do enjoy it now.
That is pretty cool. Not many guys have that stuff. I can remember when Mariano Rivera used to come in and they used to play Enter Sandman, and then that was kind of the thing. And then of course Diaz in New York, and now you're doing it like, it's really, the game is such a, what do I call it? Extravaganza now or whatever. It's such a circus. I think it's a beautiful thing. And here it is, the game's on the line, win, lose or draw. Let's go. That's pretty cool.
A lot of pageantry now.
Oh, for sure. But when I talk to fans and stuff, a lot of times it won't be how I pitch. They'll just talk about the entrance, so they seem to really like it too. So I mean, it's for them, right? So I know they enjoy it, so I do too.
Hey, well, that's perfect then, because if you have a bad outing, nobody's going to remember that. They're just going to think about the entrance.
Yeah, they just remember the entrance. Win-win.
Perfect. Timmy, all right. Well, what's Timmy like when he goes into the game, man? Is he?
You know what? Timmy's again, I think we're pretty opposite. Timmy's he's always relaxed. I mean, I'm looking at him, I'm like, is this guy even nervous? He's pretty rock solid. Tim's always consistent, consistent in his mood, whether he's pitching really good, bad, indifferent, always the same guy. So I think that really helps him have success. Yeah.
You know what? Hey, Timmy, you made your name, in this game, and it was always like I said, it was always like a confidence thing. You could tell each outing you go there, my final year, with success, you got more confident. I think that's what Jordan's talking about now. You belong, you can do this, and you've had a tremendous, start to a great career, and that's not easy to do, man. It's not easy. The toughest jobs in baseball are bullpen guys, right? Because what happens, you guys know how it works. If you're good, you get abused, right? That's just the way it is. And a lot of times we used to notice it. It was almost like year to year. Like let's say you had a big year this year, you're pitching all the time. So you know what? The next year you might be a little bit off because you threw so many doggone innings, right? And then it just kind of up and down. So the guys like yourself that are steady and just year after year, you got to tip your hat to it, man, because it's the toughest job there is in baseball, and they come and go. They're always looking, for replacements until they get guys that they can lean on for a number of years, which both of you guys are doing.
Yeah, it is.
I think. Go ahead, Romy.
Yeah, I was just saying it's a really tough job, especially if you are getting overused. But I'd say the Blue Jays are probably one of the best in realizing that they're going to go to you when you're throwing well, right? But they're not going to absolutely crush you, because they know that too. They know that if they just abuse you, you're not going to be good for the next couple of weeks after that. So I feel like in my time here, they've been really good with usage and stuff like that. Obviously, there's weeks where you can't help it. You want to win games, but they've been good with that for the most part.
Hey, you're the guy that want to get abused, man, because that means you're winning every freaking night.
Exactly.
That's a good thing. You say, don't worry about it. Grab some ice, Jordan. Don't worry about it.
Hey, guys, I had a question. Last week in out west, Max Scherzer got ejected from a game for using what the umpire said, too much rosin or a combination of alcohol and rosin, and they checked his glove 3 different times, and it was really it was a lot of controversy regarding that, because there's no definition on how much rosin can be used in a game. There's no guidelines. It's legal, but it's not if you use too much. I just wanted to get both of your takes on what happened last week, and should there be uniformity when it comes to how much of this rosin, or maybe eventually developing a universal, a sticky substance that can be used. It was just kind of really controversial last week. Would love to get your take on it.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Guilty.
Yeah. No. So obviously, like, they're doing the checks. I do think the best thing that's going to come out is hopefully a universal substance or a universal ball with some form of tack on it. I think all pitchers are looking for is consistency, kind of consistency in the ball, consistency in the way that it's rubbed up, and from an umpire standpoint, just like consistency in how you enforce the rule.
Yep.
I know a lot of people prior to Scherzer watched what happened to Domingo Germán in New York and saw that he was warned, he was told to wash his hands, he comes out and they find it again, and then they keep letting him pitch. And it's kind of like, well, where's the line drawn? Technically you should be ejected. And I think from a pitcher's perspective, like, yeah, there is a rule and you didn't abide by it. So you should be ejected there. And it's like, what's the difference between that and Scherzer is where I think guys are a little bit confused and are looking for some form of consistency just in the way it's enforced.
Yeah, well said.
It used to be in guys using sticky stuff or whatever. That's been going on in baseball forever. It was almost like sign stealing, right? Everybody's always done it, so you make an adjustment so they can't steal your sign. And it's kind of some of these balls are slick, but I think what happened, they come up with a substance that really helps the spin rate or something. But it used to be, occasionally you'd see a manager would question a pitcher on another team, right? If the hitters would come back and say, "Hey, he's got something. Hey, check him. Skip, will you check him?" Right? But the only problem with that is he knows that all his guys on his pitching staff are doing the same thing. So it's like, really, do I really want to do that? You know what I mean? And so when you talk about uniformity, I think, that may, whatever that might be, would probably solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, you ain't using any of that stuff. I don't want to have no answers. Hey, plead the fifth, will you? Hey, tell us about the new bullpen down there, man. They got you guys right there in the middle of the fans, huh?
Oh yeah, the new bullpen, in my opinion, best in the league by far. When you're warming up, you're right by the fans, and I wasn't sure how I would like it at first. You know what I mean? But warming up there a couple times, it kind of locks me in a little bit sooner. Like, you got all the fans there, you kind of have that little bit more adrenaline right when you're warming up. So I feel like it locks me in quicker. And yeah, I mean, we have that downstairs area too. I know Timmy likes the bullpens kind of like a country club. He needs his coffee and all that. So Tim's really enjoying it.
Tim Hortons.
Hey, he's changed. Hey, Jordan, Timmy's changed, for crying out loud, man.
Oh yeah. He's changed big time.
When I knew him.
Hey, he's snapping his fingers at me, trying to get me coffee.
Hey, well, I saw that game in Detroit. I think it was the home opener in one of the Detroit pictures. Bullpen guys was calling into the game, and there's like one of your fans was like, I mean, he could grab the guy, right? I mean, it's like they may have a little problem with that on the visiting side, or they may have to, do something about that because there's some nuts out there, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it will all be good fun. We'll get razzed a little bit down there, but I think it's kind of nice, wherever we go, we're getting chirped, so it's kind of nice. They'll be hearing it from our fans at home.
Yeah, it seems like a cool deal, even from watching on TV, it looks like anytime you're in there mixing with the crowd a little bit, it's only going to help, so. Well, all right, boys, man. Well, listen, hey, we appreciate you coming on. Taking, you got a game tonight. You're taking some time for us, and we're big fans. Obviously, we're big fans of the team too. We think you guys got a shot to win it all this year, and plus now, Jordan, you got to go walk your dog, and Timmy, you got to go change some diapers, man. They get you
That's right.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having us on. No, this was a blast. I really appreciate it.
Timmy, let me ask
thanks
you
for having us on.
Hey, Timmy, you need to put some decorations on them walls, though, man. Look at it. Look how white they're right. And there's no.
Yeah.
Do you own that place, or you just renting it?
No, I just rent it. Yeah, so I'm not putting decorations on the walls here on a rental.
All right, boys, man. Best of luck. We appreciate you.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
All right.
Another great gabbing with Gibby's. Great to see those guys, John. You did it again. You brought two guys on, two staples of the bullpen, and everyone was drinking Tim Hortons. That was kind of cool.
Hey, those guys aren't just great pitchers, man. They're smart dudes too. Yeah, Johnny. Two good guys. They're obviously Jordan's one of the top closers in baseball, and Timmy Mayza is one of the the top setup middle inning guy, whatever you want to use them. Top left-handers.
And a strong friendship between the two of them.
Oh yeah, inseparable, man. Mutt and Jeff or Rob, Batman and Robin. I don't know, but you could tell they're pretty close to each other.
Oh, absolutely. And now it's going to be a time inspired by our friends at Miller Lite, the sponsor here. We're going to get this week's roast and toast. So, John, inspired by Miller Lite, who are you roasting this week?
Gosh, I mean, when I see all these home run celebrations, I better get me a Miller Lite, man, settle me down. Now, know what, Johnny?
You mean the Red Sox with the inflated dumbbells when someone hits a home run, and so you're roasting all the teams that do this absurdity? Yeah,
you know what? It's just, the Blue Jays got rid of their home run jacket, thank God, right? And,
well, Vladdy still wears his
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay there, but I think some of the veteran players say, "Come on, dude, what are we trying to do here?" Right? But I see some of these teams out there, with the samurai helmet. It's like, like you said, the fake dumbbells. I guess if the Red Sox weren't act like a small budget ball club now, they'd have real dumbbells, But now they got
they got inflatables.
Now they're small market. They're acting like it. It's just kind of like, what? I don't think they do that kind of thing in the NFL, the NBA. They definitely don't do it in the NHL. It's just sometimes it just I don't know. There's something irritating about it because you're looking for the intensity of the game, not like it's like a circus, Yeah. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, old fuddy-duddy. I don't know.
We're both kind of purist in a lot of ways, and sometimes the showmanship is great, but when it gets over the top, like putting on props after a home run, that's a little too much.
Yeah, I think so. But obviously somebody likes it out there. I don't know.
Yeah, so definitely some people like it. And on the other side of the coin, who are you toasting this week?
It's got to be the Pittsburgh Pirates, doesn't it? They're kind of the talk of.
They are the talk.
Team. Yeah, and Shelton got him a nice little extension. And it's kind of a we're only a month in, right? It's still early. That's it's way too early to crown anybody. But I think the last couple of years they've lost 100 games, and
they have.
And I guess what's the part that shocks a lot of people is it's one of the proud franchises in the history of the game of baseball, right? And they just went. I mean, they just disappeared basically. for a few years there, and so Shelty and his coach staff doing a nice job. But it never hurts to be in that National League Central either. That's for darn sure.
It's not the strongest division, but it's good. It's kind of cool to see a team that no one really expected that much from, like the Pirates, come into their own a little bit, and that's always great for the city that the team is playing in as well.
Yeah, it is, and they're doing a great job. I'm not taking it lightly because they're getting good pitching, they're getting good hitting, they got enthusiasm. They have a celebration. Oh, they had the sword celebration. I think.
Yeah,
maybe that's why they're playing so well. They got the home run celebration.
Maybe they got the sword coming up, right? The sword celebration. But we'll keep our eye on them and everybody else that inspired by our friends at Miller Lite that Gibby decides to roast or toast every week. And John, you'll be roasting and toasting some more next week. So
we'll definitely be toasting with some of those Miller Lights. No doubt
exactly. Always with the Miller Lite. Absolutely.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
And another great episode, John. It was very, very cool to have the special guest and everything else that you talk about baseball-wise. It gives fans really an insight on with a guy who, spent years in the dugout, baseball lifer. So, John, it's always a pleasure each and every week to get your insights.
Yeah, and we appreciate these guys coming on because they got to go to the ballpark. They got it's a game day and all that. And it can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but
and after all the travel too, you're traveling. So this trip wasn't the hard one because they came from New York. This last one, but yeah, to get guys like that who are so busy all the time. Great job, John, as always, bringing on some special guests. And that'll wrap up this episode, Gibby. That's it for this week. Don't forget to get a copy of Gibby's book, wherever you get your books. It's selling like hotcakes, so they say. And we can't wait to hear Kawasaki do the audiobook when that comes out, Jim.
Hey, no, it's selling like smile cookies.
Yeah, it's selling like smile cookies. There you go. It's selling a lot for sure. For John Gibbons, this is John Arezzi. We will talk more baseball with you right here next week on The Gibby Show. Have a great week, everybody, and go Blue Jays.
Thanks, Johnny.